Hey guys, this is Caleb with DSLRvideoshooter.com, where it's all about making better videos. Two big things coming up because it's April. First, the fun one, that's going to be NAB, so I'm going to be there. If you guys are going to be there, make sure you stop me. Would love to chat with you guys. And of course, I'll be bringing back some news and things that I found interesting from the show. The second thing, because it's April, is it's tax season, which always is a little frustrating. We love making videos. Probably few of us enjoy paying taxes and keeping track of all that stuff. In the corporate video guide that I recently completed, we talked at length about accounting and taxes, and to help everybody out, I'm going to be releasing a section of that here today. So this is coming from section 4, which is all about business. We're going to be looking at 3 small pieces of that section, including accounting, taxes, and saving for taxes. So if you don't have a solid system that you're comfortable with when it comes to saving for taxes and paying your taxes or accounting, you're going to enjoy this and should get something out of it. I know I did when we were filming it. And if you want to see more of the guide, we're doing a 15% off discount for the entire guide today through April 15th. So you guys can take advantage of that. Check the description for links. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the guide. In these sections, Corbyn sits down with his bookkeeper, Jen, so we get a little bit of an outside perspective when it comes to accounting and taxes.
So once we're incorporated as a business, if I have zero knowledge of accounting, where do I start? What is like day one? What do I have to track? What do I have to report? Where do I start if I have zero clue about accounting? Which was me when I started my company and why I called you.
So you need to start. You need to be tracking your income and you need to be tracking expenses. Ideally, anything that happens for your business would be separate from what happens in your personal world.
Right.
So that's really important too, because people commingle those things a lot and it causes a lot of confusion for whoever's trying to help you prepare your taxes or follow the money at the end of the year.
And that's why you incorporate.
Right.
Because it keeps you protected as an individual and the business is then separate, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of the time what happens is people are so busy doing their job, whatever that is, whatever this business is that they've started, that they forget about the money. They have to run to the store and buy something, or someone gives them a check, great. But then what do you do with that? And then it ends up being, December, and you're looking at, trying to wrap up the year and understand what you've done, how your business has done throughout the course of the year, and you have no idea. So the first place to start is making sure that you're tracking all of your income. When someone gives you a check, that has to be recorded somewhere. I tell all of my clients, I use QuickBooks software. It works, it's easy, it's extremely user-friendly. They have a web-based product. And it's just getting into the habit of recording everything that you do in that software.
Right. And it can grow with you.
Absolutely.
You can start really basic with it and it can grow with you. Give me an example of you do the books for my company. So some of the categories, like you have income coming in,
right,
and you have expenses going out,
right,
and you need to track those and put those into different categories. So maybe explain how to break down those categories.
You can get a lot of detail. You can get too detailed, I think, when it comes to that. And initially, when you're starting, just getting all of that information in a centralized location is what's important. So it may be as simple as having an income category called sales and having expenses, for meals and entertainment and advertising and vehicle expense. It could be very simple. And then as your business grows, you start to understand what kind of information you want to pull out of your financial statements. And that's where you start to detail those categories more specifically. But initially that can be really overwhelming because you don't know what the categories should be. So just starting somewhere with sales and expenses, I think is the best way to go. Don't make it too complicated to begin with. Just make sure you're doing it.
Yeah, so if you maybe even don't need to go and invest in QuickBooks, you could start in Excel or Google Docs or whatever they call it on Google. I mean, that's free, and you can build that spreadsheet. You're going to have to learn how to build spreadsheets anyways if you're doing invoicing or estimates, and so that's a good place to start. What would you say to somebody who's already 3 or 4 years into it and they haven't been doing this? I mean, you and I both know people that have done it,
right,
and they're just a mess.
Right.
what do you say to that person that has already been doing a ton of work, they're making some money, but they haven't been tracking,
right?
And they're really scared to even start.
Mm-hmm. I smile and I say it's okay. It happens, but you have to start this today. This is really important for the health of your business, and you can't make business decisions. You can't grow and expand, which I think is the goal for small business owners, whatever work it is that you do. You can't make those decisions without this knowledge. And if you don't have this knowledge, you're probably not going to be around in a couple of years. It's that important. You have to know where the money is going, and you have to know what it is that you need to spend money on to grow your business. Mm-hmm. So start today. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It happens, but it's time right now.
Yeah. Well, and if I was just being honest, like when I first started, I was really intimidated by finances. Mm-hmm. I knew how to bring money in, but I was always scared to manage it because I maybe was nervous that I really wasn't making money. But once I kind of got over that hurdle, and I had to personally get help specifically from Jen to kind of say, I need some help with this. Mm-hmm. And where it's powerful is it helps you then make decisions for the future. So I'll often call Jen and I'll say, hey, where are we at sales-wise? Right. And then I'll go, ooh, we need to bump up sales, so I'll get on the phone and try to book more work. Or I might say, hey, where are we at? Can I invest in this equipment? Can I invest in this camera? Can I invest in this computer? And it's not Jen's job to say no. It's her job to say, you can, but you got to wait for a few months and maybe think about taking it from here or taking it from there.
Right.
And so having that partnership is fantastic to be able to run that stuff by her. And it's enabled me to grow as a company. And I think it is fantastic, especially if you're really intimidated by finances, to have somebody that you trust that you can run that
Absolutely.
Stuff by. Because doing it alone, you're especially us camera nerds, we're gonna always justify that we need a $7,000 camera. But Jen is sort of like, she doesn't know a ton about cameras and equipment, and so she looks at it from a spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. I might be like wanting new camera equipment, but she can then say, you might want to think about renting
right.
for another few months because we're not there yet.
Right.
And I like having that honest feedback, and I don't mind the expense that comes with that. So let's talk a little bit about taxes, which is always kind of a scary topic to talk about. Everybody kind of wants to know, how much do I put away? How do I do this? Mm-hmm. Can I do it myself? So I guess my first question about taxes to you is, should I, as a business, go to TurboTax and do it myself? And at what point, as a business, not as an individual, mm-hmm. but as a business, should I start thinking about hiring an accountant?
Mm-hmm. The minute that you decide that what you're doing is important enough that you want to take it to the next level and be a business and incorporate is the minute that you need to find a tax professional. The tax code is it's so huge, and unless you've been trained and you have a good understanding of how that works, you're not going to be able to navigate that system. You're going to miss expenses, you'll miss deductions, you'll miss tax credits that you didn't even know existed. You have to find a tax professional. It's really important. And it's not something that you should be afraid of. It's just the way it works when you're in business. And if you follow the rules, there's no problem. Report your income, pay your taxes if they're due and when they're due, and the government is going to leave you alone. I think that people get nervous about that and because they don't know how to handle it. But it's really pretty simple if you just follow the steps. But you've got to have someone who can help you adhere to the tax code. You always want to push it as far as you can, but stay within the letter of the law, which they're going to be able to guide you and
Mm-hmm.
help you do that.
Do you think there's like, I'm thinking of the guy who's got a full-time job and he
Mm-hmm.
freelances on the side and is trying to get to that point where he's owning his own business. Is there like a threshold that someone should, kind of go, okay, this is the leap that I'm going to make and get an accountant? Mm-hmm. Or would you recommend just from the get-go?
I think when your focus shifts from whatever you're doing in your normal job, in your corporate world job, when it shifts to this is really the way that the direction I want to take my life and this is what I want to do 10 years from now, that's when you need to make the change. And that's when you need to talk to someone about incorporating and guiding you through the tax process. It's different for everyone. And I don't know that there's a dollar amount that you can assign to that. I think the best way to articulate it is when your focus shifts and you decide, I don't want to work for this guy anymore. I want to work for myself. That's the moment that you need to make the change.
Mm-hmm. And I've always seen my accountant as like an advocate for me, so that I don't, pay too much or I don't pay too little.
Right.
And I am not smart enough to understand that. Talking still about taxes a bit, a lot of people ask, do I do quarterlies? How much should I set aside for taxes? I mean, is there like a magic formula, or is it different for everybody?
Right.
Explain what you would recommend.
It depends on your corporate structure. It depends on the amount of money that you're making. It depends on your net profit. There's a lot of factors that go into that. But a good general rule is every time you get paid, set aside a portion of that money into a savings account. 30% probably is a good number. It seems like a lot, but the benefit to that is at the end of the year or quarterly, whenever you're required to pay these taxes, you've got this savings account that you set up, and it's not so overwhelming. Especially when your corporate taxes are filed and you get a bill for several $1,000s that you weren't expecting. It's okay because you've set that money aside throughout the year. It's really hard to master that discipline, but it's really important because if you owe the government money, they're going to want it. And they're going to come after you until you pay them. So setting it aside ahead of time and just avoiding that altogether is the best course of action.
So there you have it, some tips when it comes to accounting and taxes. If you'd like to learn more about the guide, make sure you check the description where you'll find a code for 15% off now through April 15th. Hope your guys' taxes weren't too brutal. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.